Hi everyone and welcome. I'm Olga Yurovski, founder of Shopperations. If you work in the CPG marketing industry, you know the challenges. Siloed data, complex budgets, and time-consuming manual Excel-based reporting. And that is why we built Shopperations, to help marketers plan smarter, collaborate better, and make data-driven decisions with confidence. Our clients have seen incredible results, like reducing audit times from weeks to just 30 minutes, and gaining the strategic clarity to put their marketing dollars in the right place at the right time. Today, I'm excited to be joined by 5 amazing Shopperations users who will share their firsthand experiences. Please welcome Savita McLaughlin from General Mills, Jonathan Havlick from Tropicana, Jared Kirby from Competitive Edge, Jen Crump from Blue Buffalo, and Matt Pabst from Conagra Brands. We're going to dive into real-world insights, starting with how each one of our guests uses Shopperations in their day-to-day work. You will hear why their teams decided to adopt Shopperations and what problems they were trying to solve, how the software fits into their planning process and streamlines operations, different ways that Shopperations has already improved collaboration and decision-making, and finally, their advice for marketing leaders who are considering adopting a system of record like Shopperations. This will be a great conversation, so let's jump right in. Please tell me about your role in the company and how you came to use Shopperations.
Yeah, I lead the shopper marketing or commerce marketing function, as we call it, for Conagra, for the Walmart and Sam's Club business, and have been with Conagra for 16 years. As it pertains to process automation and Shopperations, our intention there was to figure out how to get out of spreadsheets and how to coordinate across all of our different customers, right? Our different retail customers. So we were just looking for ways to create a clean kind of system of record where we could just have the truth always available that any one of us could leverage and that our leadership could very quickly leverage to know what to do with it. And so Shopperations became that solution and has been an effective solution for us for quite a few years now.
So I am Jonathan Havlick, and I'm the Director of Trade Marketing at Tropicana Brands Group. And my team implemented Shopperations 10 months ago now. So my team and we are in charge of retailer-specific programming, advertising, any sort of things that you see within the retailer. My team strategizes and executes that within the market. And we use Shopperations to build those plans, manage those plans, and those budgets.
I'm Jared Kirby. I work at CEMM, Competitive Edge Media Marketing. I run and head our e-commerce on-platform advertising. We've been using Shopperations for about a year, and it's really helped our flow.
So I've been with General Mills for 5 years, Blue Buffalo for 3. So I use Shopperations in both roles across both enterprises. I am sort of the knowledge holder of what all Shopperations can do. So I take what I know and what I've learned in Shopperations in the past 5 years and help the shopper team with inputting their plans. So I don't actually do the inputs. The teams do that themselves since they know the details. But I assist them with maybe the tactics or how to actually enter them and what detail level is needed. And I own the budget, implementing that into Shopperations. So like the budget totals and all that I own. And then the shopper team will put in their specific details for their retailers.
I was a shopper marketing manager that supported several of our traditional retail accounts. So some examples would be H-E-B, Publix. Those are a couple of accounts that I supported. So within that particular role, we were allocated budgets for each of our various customers. And then within those budgets, we were given specific tactics or objectives that we had to accomplish with those budgets. And then my team would kind of look at those budgets, determine what tactics they would use to accomplish the objectives that they were given. And I, as a manager at that time, and working with my colleagues as well, found it difficult to sort of compare any apples to apples situations. It was really hard to analyze. And so that was kind of one of the things that was kind of put on my desk, was to come up with a way or explore ways to essentially do a better job of tracking budgets and analyzing results from there.
What were some of the problems that you and your team were trying to solve?
I was in the role about 4 months before we implemented Shopperations. It was very easy to discover that our antiquated Excel spreadsheet sort of management system that I kind of was thrown into was not working. It was very difficult to just kind of find the answers that you were looking for. I mean, I think we've all know the benefits of Excel, but when trying to plan and have different tactics and the granularity that you need within those tactics and those plans for a specific retailer, trying to find like very specific questions was so difficult in Excel that we had to come up with something. What can we use as just like a program management, maybe? Like, is there some sort of planning software that we can use to kind of build this in? And it was actually somebody on my team who was like, I've known about Shopperations for a while. I kind of talked about it before, but we just, weren't there yet. And that's really what started the ball off, is that somebody knew about it and we looked into it. And it was very easy to get to the point of knowing that this was the right step in the right direction.
The main issue that I saw that Shopperations has definitely helped solve is the centralization of our shopper marketing tactics, advertising tactics. So there was definitely a lot of time spent auditing all those individual sources of truth just to aggregate and make sure that everyone was on the same page. So I really think that one of my time savers is just that centralization, keeping it all, having that one source of truth, having, the client also use that as a source of truth. Everything's all in one spot. It's definitely helped a bunch there.
Our intention there was to figure out how to get out of spreadsheets and how to coordinate across all of our different customers, right? Our different retail customers. That was something that we did. We looked at it, how much time are we spending doing this? For us, it was very intuitive of this whole, everybody's got a different spreadsheet, or even when we got to the same spreadsheet, everybody has to roll them up, send them up, then they have to be compiled, then they have to be proved for validity, and then the leader can review the data. Was like, this doesn't work well, right? It's not a sustainable play for the long term, and it's certainly not the most effective play. So once we got into the tool and realized we can all keep a system of record, our leaders can get into it immediately and see exactly what they want to see. It was very clear that there's a lot of value in having a book of record online that's refreshed all the time. And so Shopperations became that solution, and has been an effective solution for us for quite a few years now.
We needed something that everyone had access to, and we weren't trying to pick and choose where it lived. And then we needed to have access to the whole team, holistically. What was everyone doing for the year? And then all the different pivot tables and all the different ways that you can extract the information from Shopperations just saved hundreds of hours of doing that in Excel alone. I knew what Shopperations could do. So with upper management and everything, they made the final decision, but coming onto it, I already knew what Shopperations can do. So that was a big help in just streamlining the team and getting them comfortable with doing it this new way.
Yeah, I think what stood out for us for Shopperations specifically was the ability to adapt to the structure, the output, and the inputs and the outputs, really. So that it was a very malleable, software for us to use versus having a very structured template that we had to kind of input our current formats into. Felt like there was great opportunity with Shopperations to be able to adapt it to our specific needs, the way we were looking at the business, the way we looked at products and sort of sublines or roll things up into higher levels. So that was one of the things that was really appealing.
How does Shopperations software fit into your daily work? And what parts of the process does it touch and automate?
So we use it as a book of record, right? So we track. In fact, I literally just came out of a fiscal planning meeting where we are preparing to load our next fiscal year into Shopperations. And once we get it into Shopperations, we'll be able to look and see how we're spending by brand, and does that match our objectives and goals as and priorities as a company. We use it to look below the product, the brand level. We call it the product level. I know that's customizable in the tool, but so we can see not only the brand, but we can see subsegments of that brand, and you could do whatever you need to do there. And that's really helpful for us.
Prior to the implementation of Shopperations, when that question was asked, it had to go out to every person, every manager team, and then the manager team really ended up going to each individual retail, account manager. And then they would send back some type of whatever their offline format was to track their budget. And then sort of all of those things were sort of laddered up to the, to the director. And it wasn't really in a people had to kind of create their own spreadsheets to add up the numbers or what have you. And so, Shopperations suddenly allowed us to be able to relatively quickly pull that information and pull it into a report. And that was actually probably one of the other things that I should have mentioned. A differentiating factor was just the reporting that could be pulled out of it. And so that was also something that has been very customized. So the customization of the reporting and the ability to report and aggregate the data that is being input into the system was another differentiating factor when we first made the decision. And then it also was something that we found to be very valuable. So to be able to pull the information very easily in the format and the way that we wanted to has been kind of that game changer versus what we had originally.
So definitely just the budget tracking. I think that's disseminating the information or needs from the client as an agency through the client interaction. So our client managers getting the tasks, putting that into the system, having that trickle down into the different departments, me being the e-commerce department, being able to know up to date to the moment if there are changes and making sure that those are caught before the go live date. So having it as kind of the point, the interaction of what needs to be done, just get all the data in one spot. So Dana on our team really kind of took on that role. And that was nice because of course, you guys at Shopperations were always available to answer questions, but sometimes it's a little easier just to shoot an email to, your somebody you work with every day to get a question answered. And yeah, she was kind of that first point where any information that needed to get in, she would do it. So she was always in there making changes and getting updates and really getting that kind of one-on-one time with the tool to get to know it very well. Yeah, and then disseminated that information out to us.
In our financial new year, our budgets get released for each retailer. We'll go into Shopperations and add those budgets accordingly to all the specific retailers for Blue Buffalo. Team will then go in for each specific retailer and drill down and do initial plans for the year. And then that gets used. We pull all of those retailers and all of those budgets and plans, and we'll pull that out into a monthly report. The report gets pulled the first week of every month, and we roll that up to the finance leadership so that they could see at a retailer level what's being spent above the line and below the line. That's what our budgets roll into. And then what is being spent on cat, dog treats, or specifically for a set of time or a specific program. And it's done monthly, religiously.
So Shopperations fits into my team's daily life and actually most of our agencies. So we have teamed up and partnered with the agencies, e-com, in-store, all of that, to actually use the system. They are users within our system, and they actually help populate events and tactics and make changes as, things ebb and flow through the planning process. It's really, especially for me, I kind of hold the budgets within the team, and I use Shopperations daily. We're no longer planning within Excel. We've really tried to structure the implementation of Shopperations to not just help my internal planning team, but to really be a place for cross-functional departments to utilize and get answers that they need without the dreaded, 1,500 emails a day asking questions. They can actually go into Shopperations and get 90% of those questions answered themselves. And it's a lot more efficient.
Can you describe some of the benefits, both tangible and intangible, that you were able to realize using Shopperations?
And I think Shopperations is fairly intuitive. And so I think if you commit a little bit of time to just, and when I mean a little bit of time, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, a half an hour, something like that, to just make a program. And a program probably takes, I don't know, 2 minutes to make in Shopperations, even with multiple tactics and products. It's very quick to make one. Once you make the program and you look at it, you say, I pretty much have the information I need, including notes and comments and things like that, budgets, whatever. Shopperations, you go and you type in the event name, you type in some comments if you want, you add a few tactics, you add a few products to those tactics, and you're ready to rock. And you can add your spend amounts, your budget amounts. There's a lot of people who just work directly within Shopperations all the time. I'm a little bit of a geek, though. That's why I like to get into the Excel occasionally for just overall analysis purposes, but useful.
Dealing with kind of our Excel spreadsheet for the first 3 months before we implemented Shopperations, answering a question from a brand manager and going through that live tracker could be upwards of 45 minutes. Now, that's a pretty extreme, but I would say on average, to answer a question or to kind of like try and filter and figure out what you're kind of doing at a retailer, let's say the average is 20 minutes. That 20 minutes computes to about 3 to 5 minutes, maybe in Shopperations to get that same question answered. So I think just right there, that's a huge savings. Now, as far as, kind of the finance portion of it, to do a phasing report within what we were using before would have taken hours to days to kind of manually manipulate everything and really get that done. The phasing report now, I'm going to say, is 3 to 5 minutes. Once you kind of like do a couple filters, get it uploaded, and then they extract the data they need, it's within a few minutes.
I think just confidence is something that is probably not very easily tangible, but is definitely like probably top 3 of my favorite parts of the system, is just having that. And it all comes down to that single point of truth. But yeah, confidence that, budgets are actually being allocated, that they are being spent proper way, like having that knowledge and confidence in what we're doing, is because when it's all split up and everyone has their own tracking system, the only time you have that confidence is like the day of the audit. After that, it's like, who knows what's going on. So yeah, having that one point is fantastic.
The reporting, like just the level of granularity that you can get to in the reporting is amazing. And then you can download it to Excel and just do pivot tables to your heart's delight. It's made my job so much easier. And it's made easier for me to communicate what we're doing with those reports. It's enabled us just to get a better view of what we're actually doing for the year, just with the various updates and the additions that you can add to your retailer and to your plans. It's helped a lot of the people on the Blue Buffalo side, especially when they're like entering their stuff. There was a lot of pushback at start, but now it's so much easier and it's really intuitive. So it saves a lot of time, both for me and for the planners.
When we brought new people on who hadn't done the old offline system, they love Shopperations. So like that, I think is a testament to the fact that it's a really good system that we've been using. I think the other invaluable piece has been the history. The transition to somebody new and they take over that role is really, really difficult, especially. And then there's things that happen where that person has left the company, or that person doesn't have time to or that person just wasn't good at transitioning. And so it made it, obviously there was a lot of lost time there when that happened. So like this allowed us to have the history and for people to be able to easily transition, which was another huge benefit, I think, to new people when they came on, because they were like, oh, I can just look at this. This is no problem. I can look at the history. I can look at what we did last year. So that's been really huge.
Are there any other observations or advice for fellow marketing leaders who are considering deploying a system of record similar to Shopperations?
Confusion and pain made us say we got to figure out a way to get into the tool and actually fully like use a tool instead of Excel, because it was too painful, too much work, too much waste of time, energy, effort, etc., lack of good information. So I think having a reason to jump in is important, and I think it's pretty intuitive I think probably any marketer that it's intuitive to use a digital platform like this. Tips that I would say is just commit. Don't do the maintaining of both an Excel file and the online system for too long. You definitely need it for a little while just to make sure you're comfortable and confident. but just get into the tool. Some action is better than thinking about it. To me, the benefits are very apparent. I don't spend a ton of time doing my checking and banking work, on paper anymore, even though that's how I started 1,000 years ago as a kid. I do it all in the app. I do it all on the site for my banks because it works. I would definitely say lean on the Shopperations team to help you get over hurdles. If you have a question or concern or not sure where to find something, you're not hidden, behind a server somewhere. You're just real people that we talk with a lot. And I think that's a value add to what your offering is, to your point.
Mm-hmm. We all work in corporate America and CPG, which is all about the reporting functionality and how everyone wants to see specifically these dollars to this, to that, whatever. Like, they don't want a general report that they kind of have to read between the lines. Like, they want an exact kind of view. And that report build tool allows me to do that for them, which again then turns around oh my gosh, the trade marketing team is on top of it. Like, they know exactly what I'm looking for. They can output exactly what I'm asking. So it just makes us look like we're all-stars within the company. So can't get better than that.
For me, I think whenever I'm trying to introduce a new tool or time-saving process in an organization, my first hesitation is the onboarding, or how much time it's going to take to actually efficiently integrate into the company. I would say for Shopperations specifically, having access to Sherry and your team in general has made that process extremely efficient and easy. That with the efficiencies that come with integrating budgeting into a single source of record, the ongoing joke is how do we make our business more efficient? Is we got to get Shopperations across all of our clients, because it's more efficient workflow working within the Shopperations ecosystem than it is outside of it. It's a completely different system.
Always going to be pushback for something new, but having some test scenarios of how they can use Shopperations and just seeing the data that comes from it, from just initially going in, it's a lot going into Shopperations and seeing all the different areas you can go to, all the stuff that you have to enter, but pulling that out into a report that specifically is detailed for what you need, I think it helped me to guide the rest of the team, to making this a monthly thing for us.
You have to have top level buy-in, and I would say if there's a company that doesn't have a cohesive system to track and to be able to pull reports quickly and to be able to analyze and look at and answer questions, because at the end of the day, that's one of the things that Shopperations does very well for us internally, is answer questions at the executive level, which were very difficult to answer before. So I don't think getting executive buy-in should be difficult if a system doesn't exist, or if a system that is currently maybe at a company doesn't offer some of these benefits that I already ran through. I would think those would be probably questions that other companies may be struggling to answer already. And I would say we've seen that Shopperations has been able to adequately answer, a lot of the questions that we weren't able to either answer at all or quickly answer prior to implementation.
And that is a wrap. It is clear from our conversation today that Shopperations is more than just a budgeting tool. It is a strategic asset that drives efficiency, transparency, and better decision-making for marketers. If you're still managing your plans in spreadsheets or struggling with fragmented data, now is the time to see what Shopperations can do for you. I encourage you to visit our website and request a demo so you can see the software in action and elevate your marketing operations to the next level. We look forward to hearing from you and helping you transform the way you work. Thank you for your attention. Goodbye.